Hey everyone, Dom Tibbetts here. I hope you're all enjoying your bye week the best you can. I know it's a little tough to do when the Bills are coming off now back-to-back losses, but with that being said, I think it's clear from these last two performances that the Bills need help on both sides of the ball. So let's talk about some potential trade candidates that could help them move the needle and ultimately reach their goal this season. Let's start offensively. I think it's clear. They need some help in the receiving game. They really need that true number one wide receiver to come in and really shake up this offense. The everybody eats mantra is cool, but when it's not working, everyone's starving. And over the last 2 weeks, this offense looks like it is famished. So let's talk about Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. Now, I know I'm not the first person to throw Olave's name out there, but he makes so much sense for the Buffalo Bills. If you look at the last two games they lost, both teams, the Patriots and the Falcons, had bona fide true number one wide receivers in Stefon Diggs and Drake London. That is the kind of thing that helps separate their offense in those matchups. I think the Bills need that kind of separation as well. And you mentioned separation. Well, the receivers just got to start doing that. Chris Olave is a proven separator, a vertical threat, somebody who stretches the field. And I think that strikes fear into opposing defenses. You have to make sure Chris Olave is covered, and that's something that I don't think a lot of these Bills wide receivers do to opposing defensive coordinators. Olave is still on his rookie contract, so a cheaper option when you talk about these big-name wide receivers that would make big-time impacts. All right, let's talk about another wide receiver that makes sense. Las Vegas Raiders wideout Jakobi Meyers. Now, last year when we had these literal same discussions about this team needing another wide receiver to come help this offense, Jakobi Meyers was a big name that was thrown out there. He'll be a little bit more of an expensive option, meaning the Bills are obviously going to have to give up a little bit more to get Jakobi Meyers because he's not on a rookie contract like Chris Olave. But according to multiple reports, it does appear the Raiders are more likely to ship out and trade Meyers than the Saints are to Chris Olave at this point. We'll see how that all shakes out, but I think him and Chris Olave, two guys that come right off the top, would make an immediate impact for this Bills offense. All right, let's talk about defense. And I think you can make the argument that safety is the most important position the Bills need to address right now because it has significantly lacked over the last few weeks here. But I go back just the way this team is in their history. They don't often bring in safeties, and then they don't often trust new safeties to come in and run this defense, given how important that position is to the overall scheme that Sean McDermott and Bobby Babich roll out. But we can stay on the secondary because I think we have to talk about the cornerback 2 position opposite of Christian Benford. Tre'Davious White has been fine. He's been serviceable, but the Bills have been playing with fire sometimes when he's in there too. Rookie Dorian Strong is on injured reserve, and then sticking on the IR list, if the team does open up the practice window for Maxwell Hairston, I think it's kind of unfair to judge what his expectation is and how quickly the Bills want to get him ramped up given all the time and the development he's missed so far because of his injury. So maybe the Bills need to go get a cheaper option when it comes to finding a cornerback. Go find a guy who's maybe playing in a rotational basis rather than a bona fide starter from another team that's going to cost you a little bit more. I think there are a lot of guys around this league that could fit that mold for the Bills. But you put all that together, I think Seattle Seahawks corner Tyreek Woolen makes a lot of sense for this team. He's still on his rookie contract. He has slipped down the depth chart a bit for the Seahawks, so he might be a little bit of a cheaper option for the Bills to go out and acquire. But he does bring some nice skill sets and really an overall physical presence that I think that cornerback 2 role has been missing. Coming in at 6'4", 210 pounds, yeah, that's a big physical presence that I think this Bills defense could really use. He's also slotted as a nickelback on their depth chart right now, so you're going to get a little bit of versatility if you brought in a guy like him. And remember, above all, the Bills have one of the lowest cap spaces remaining in the NFL right now, so it is going to take a lot of creativity from general manager Brandon Beane and his staff to get any of these deals done.